Ferrari did not collapse in Austria because it had no speed. Ferrari collapsed because its speed could not survive Sunday. That is what makes this so dangerous. Leclerc started second. Hamilton started third. 2 Ferraris inside the top 3. After Hamilton's win in Spain, this was supposed to be the proof that Ferrari was finally back. But then the tires started fading. The grip disappeared. The race pace collapsed. And the car that looked like a threat on Saturday became a target on Sunday. This was not one unlucky stint. This was not one bad call from the pit wall. This was Ferrari's hidden weakness exploding in front of Mercedes, Red Bull, and every rival now asking the same terrifying question. Can the SF26 actually fight for a championship? Or does it only look fast until the tires start suffering? Because Austria exposed the truth: Ferrari cannot spin. A fast lap means nothing if the car cannot hold the race. And if Ferrari cannot fix this degradation disaster quickly, then Austria was not just a bad Grand Prix. It was the first crack in Ferrari's entire season. Subscribe to the channel. Austria was supposed to be the race that confirmed Ferrari's recovery. That is why the collapse felt so brutal. Because Ferrari did not arrive at the Red Bull ring looking hopeless. They arrived with momentum. They arrived with confidence. They arrived with Hamilton's victory in Spain still fresh enough to make the whole paddock look at the red cars differently. For a moment, Ferrari had belief again. Not fake belief. Not empty optimism. Real belief. Hamilton had won. Leclerc still had the speed to put the car near the front. The SF26 looked like it might finally be turning into something dangerous. And when Ferrari reached Austria, the question was no longer whether the car could win once. The question was whether it could keep winning when the circuit stopped being kind. That is where everything started to change. Because Austria is not a circuit that lets a car hide. It looks simple, but it is ruthless. Long straights expose any lack of efficiency. Heavy braking zones expose instability. Short traction zones punish the rear tires every single lap. And when a car starts sliding, Austria does not forgive it. It makes the problem grow. Ferrari knew that risk before Sunday. That is the part that makes this collapse so serious. Leclerc had already warned that the team did not look competitive enough on Friday. He pointed to the straights where Ferrari was losing too much time. But the more worrying part was the corners. Ferrari was negatively surprised by its corner performance, which should have been one of the areas where the car could fight back. That combination is dangerous. If the straights hurt you, the corners have to save you. If the corners hurt you, the straights have to protect you. But in Austria, Ferrari had neither comfort. The straights punished them. The corners did not rescue them. And the tires became the place where everything broke. That is what makes tire degradation so devastating. It is not just rubber wearing down. It is the entire race shrinking around the driver. The car starts asking for more care. The throttle has to be applied later. The rear grip becomes less reliable. The lap time starts to fade. And suddenly the pit wall is no longer thinking about how to attack. It is thinking about how to survive. That is not how Ferrari wanted to race from second and third on the grid. Leclerc had done his job. He put the car second. Hamilton qualified third. 2 Ferraris inside the top 3 should have created pressure on Russell, pressure on Mercedes, and real strategic power. Ferrari should have been able to split the race open with 2 cars near the front. But that only works if the car has race pace. And Austria exposed that Ferrari did not have enough of it. That is the difference between looking fast and being strong. A qualifying lap can make a car look alive. Fresh tires, low fuel, one perfect run. A driver like Leclerc can drag a lap out of a car and make the entire weekend feel rescued. Hamilton can do the same. Great drivers can make a fragile car look sharp for one moment. But a Grand Prix asks for more. It asks the car to repeat. Again, and again, and again. It asks the tires to stay alive when the fuel is heavy. It asks the balance to hold when the track changes. It asks the driver to push without destroying the next phase of the race. Ferrari could create the flash, but Sunday asked for endurance. And that is where the collapse began. Not with one dramatic failure. Not with a crash. Not with a broken front wing. With the slow realization that the pace Ferrari needed was not staying with them. That is why Austria hurt more than a normal defeat. A slow car disappoints early. A fragile car gives hope first. It qualifies high. It lets the team believe. It makes fans think the breakthrough is real. Then the race distance arrives and the truth starts taking pieces away. A 10th here. A weaker exit there. A stint that cannot stretch. A strategy that becomes defensive. A driver who wants to attack but has to manage. That is how Ferrari's Saturday promise turned into Sunday damage. And the worst part is that rivals saw all of it. Mercedes saw it. Red Bull saw it. Every team watching the front of the race saw it. They saw Ferrari start near the front and still lose the shape of the Grand Prix. They saw tire degradation limit the strategy. They saw the straight line weakness connect with the corner problem. They saw the SF26 look fast enough to worry about, but fragile enough to attack. That is a dangerous reputation. Because once rivals believe a car is fragile, they race it differently. They do not panic when it qualifies well. They wait. They force it to use the rear tires. They pressure it on corner exit. They make it defend on the straights. They stretch the race until the tire drop-off arrives. That is how a weakness becomes a weapon. And Austria may have handed Ferrari's rivals the weapon they needed. This is why the collapse matters beyond the result. Russell's win was important. Verstappen's recovery to second was important. Antonelli's podium was important. But for Ferrari, the most important part was the message underneath all of it. The upgrade may have been part of the path forward, but it did not change the race picture enough. The straight line weakness was still there. The corners were still not strong enough to compensate. The tire degradation still became central. The race pace still failed to match the promise of qualifying. That is why this cannot be dismissed as one difficult track. Maybe Austria was especially harsh. Maybe the setup missed the ideal window. Maybe Ferrari can correct some of the problem with balance changes, suspension adjustments, and better tire loading. That is possible. But there is a darker possibility. Maybe Austria exposed a deeper pattern in the SF26. Maybe this car works beautifully when the conditions fit, but becomes vulnerable when the circuit demands straight-line efficiency, strong traction, and careful rear tire protection all at once. That is the question Ferrari must answer. Because if the issue is only setup, the team can react quickly. But if the issue is deeper, the fix takes time. And time is what Ferrari may not have enough of. The calendar will not protect them. Spa, Monza, and Las Vegas can ask similar questions. Long straights, high speed, heavy efficiency demands. Big punishment for a car that cannot protect its tires. If Ferrari arrives at those circuits with the same weakness, Austria will stop looking like a bad weekend. It will look like the first warning. And that is where the word collapse becomes serious. Not because Ferrari's season is over. Not because the car is worthless. But because the structure of belief is under pressure. Spain built belief. Qualifying in Austria strengthened it. Then the race pace disaster attacked it. That is how confidence collapses inside a team. Not instantly. Not with one angry moment. But with repeated evidence that the car can give the drivers hope without giving them the full tools to finish the job. Hamilton and Leclerc can handle pressure. They can handle tire management. They can handle difficult races. But they cannot carry a car that repeatedly asks them to hide the same weakness. At some point, the machine has to hold. That is the demand now. Ferrari has to build a car that holds its tires. A car that holds its race pace. A car that holds its strategy options. A car that holds its promise from Saturday into Sunday. Because without that, every weekend becomes the same dangerous story. Hope in qualifying. Concern in the first stint. Tire management earlier than expected. Strategy shrinking. Rivals waiting. Race pace fading. Another what if. And Ferrari has lived through too many what ifs already. That is why Austria feels like more than a race result. It exposed the difference between Ferrari as a threat and Ferrari as a contender. A threat can be fast. A contender can keep being fast when the race becomes uncomfortable. Ferrari showed threat. It did not show enough contender. That is the painful truth. And until Ferrari changes it, every rival will test the same weakness. Mercedes will push it. Red Bull will push it. Every team close enough will push it. They will not care that Ferrari has talent. They will not care that Hamilton won in Spain. They will not care that Leclerc can qualify at the front. They will ask one question. Can Ferrari keep the tires alive? If the answer is uncertain, the race already begins with pressure inside the Ferrari garage. That is what Austria created. A question Ferrari cannot escape. And the answer has to come fast because a championship fight does not wait for a team to understand itself. Every race costs points. Every missed podium matters. Every front row start that turns into damage limitation becomes heavier than the last. Ferrari still has speed. Ferrari still has elite drivers. Ferrari still has development potential. But Austria proved that none of that is enough if the race pace collapses when the tires start suffering. That is the heart of the story. Not that Ferrari failed. But that Ferrari failed from a position where success looked possible. That is what makes it hurt. And that is what makes it dangerous. Because a team can recover from being slow. But a team that is fast enough to believe and fragile enough to lose control, has to fix itself before belief turns into frustration. Austria showed Ferrari exactly where the crack is. Now the season depends on whether Maranello can seal it before the whole structure starts to break.